We're going to be talking about target behavior training and writing pro-treatment goals. That's what we're talking about today. It's really important. So this is going to be directly related to your behavior support plan and data collection. And this used to be two separate trainings that I thought felt very natural to combine into one. So I did that recently. I combined this training into one. We're going to be talking about how we write target behaviors and how we write our program goals, or we call them mastery criteria, in our treatment plan. So very important for our behavior support plan work. Please ask any questions as we go along too, please. So what is a behavior? We talk about it all day long. What is it? What do you guys think it is?
A response.
A response. What's a response? A response is a single instance of behavior. So when we say behavior, we can say, and a lot of times we might hear the word response, we are thinking about a single instance of behavior. What else is a behavior?
The movement of an organism.
Yes, it's the movement. I was like, was that up there? Because I think that's one of my points,
Yeah,
Mark.
It's like on a timer.
Oh, is it?
I'm not pressing anything. Houdini's just happening over here.
Oh yeah, maybe I have the animation set up differently.
What?
So yes, it involves action of an organism, not inaction. So not having a behavior is not a behavior. It needs to be observable and measurable action by an organism, right? So, and a behavior must be biological in nature, naturally occurring. So companies, inanimate objects cannot have behaviors. It needs to involve movement, like Mark said, movement of an organism, and involve interaction with the environment. So that's what a behavior. Sometimes I see in behavior support plans about not having a behavior, right? I see like a behavior support plan written and it's talking about refraining from a behavior, but that is not a behavior, right? A behavior involves movement. It involves interaction. That's really annoying me that it's moving like that.
I'm sorry.
Can you just exit out of it and we could just look at the PowerPoint?
Okay.
Just this slide, I think, is probably set up like this. Just go to animation. Click the box here. And then go here to appear. I don't know why this got changed. Yeah, but it's really messed up. Okay, anyway, we'll just look at this for now.
Okay.
Hopefully the next one's not like that. So behavior is biological in nature, involves movement, and involves interaction with the environment. A lot of times when we write target behaviors, we need to include an operational definition. And an operational definition, the way I like to think about the definition, is that anyone can easily identify the behavior. So that's the way it should be written. It needs to be clear, complete, and objective. It details exactly what the behavior looks like. And it's objective. It doesn't use assumptions, judgments, or feelings. And we have some behavior terms here. Response is a single instance of behavior. And someone mentioned response earlier. That's what we're talking about, single instance of behavior. And a way to determine if you have a good behavior or not could be the dead man's test. Have you ever heard of that? No? No? How about you, Nadine? The dead man's test? No. Natalie? Natalia? Sorry, I'm all flustered from the PowerPoint mess it up.
If a dead person can't do it, then it's not.
If a dead person
Can't do it.
can do it,
Can do it, then.
yes, right. It's not a behavior,
I
right?
can explain it, but I know what it is.
So yeah, so when I'm writing my target behaviors, if a dead person can do it, and I'm sorry for the grotesque nature of this, but if a dead person can do it, it is not a behavior. What are some behaviors that a dead man might do? Laying on the floor.
Be quiet.
Being quiet, right? Exactly right. What Not moving, right.
Well, actually, when you die in the first few minutes, your body like twitches and tries to go.
What are some other ones? How about refrain? Do dead men refrain from behaviors? Yes. They're not engaged in raising their hand, right? So don't put in your treatment plan not having a behavior, right? Because a dead person cannot have a behavior. It is not a behavior, right? And why do you think that is? Why do you think they're not behaviors? Thinking about how reinforcement operates. For extra credit.
They're not going to happen again in the future?
Well, yes, it's not going to happen again in the future, clearly. But how does reinforcement operate on a behavior?
Makes it either happen again or happen less.
Right. But we need to have a behavior to reinforce it. So if we're not engaging in a behavior, what are we reinforcing? Right? So not having a behavior doesn't really work with our reinforcement teaching. Right? So these are the things to consider when you are writing your target behaviors. Do you guys have any questions about this slide? We're going to be talking more about clear, complete, and objective next. And hopefully the animation is set up correctly.
Should I try the slideshow again?
Yes, and go to the next slide though first. Okay. I hope it works. I was like, oh man, what's that? 3 characteristics of behavior. Of a good target behavior definition. Did you click there?
I did.
Yes. So it's objective. It refers to only the observable characteristics of the behavior, staying away from words such as intended to, showing interest in, into more objective ones. Clear, that it should be readable and unambiguous so that experienced observers could read it and readily paraphrase it accurately. And complete, delineating the boundaries of what is to be included as an instance of the response and what is to be excluded, thereby directing the observer in all situations that are likely to occur, leaving little to their judgment. So let's get into this a little bit in easier terms. So this is an example about elopement behavior. And elopement behavior is defined as any instance in which the individual leaves a designated area or supervision without permission and does not respond to redirection within 10 seconds. This includes walking, running, or otherwise moving more than 5 feet away from an assigned space. And they identify therapy room, classroom, fenced yard, designated area during an outing in a manner that compromises safety or supervision. And then we included example of what this may look like. And guys, I would really like to start seeing this in your treatment plans for maladaptive behaviors. And we have an example. Exiting a therapy room and running down the hallway without permission would be an example of elopement behavior. A non-example and non-examples. Walking 2 to 3 feet away from the table during a break, but remaining within the room and supervised. So we have examples and non-examples in our treatment plan. So if we think about the 3 characteristics, the first one's objective. How is this target behavior objective, would you say?
Because we can observe it and measure it.
Yes, we can observe it and measure it, right? It's very clear what we're looking to do here. It leads little to the opinion of the observer recording it. How is it clear? And kind of the same. Go ahead.
It says like running down the hallway without permission. It shows a specific thing that's relative to or related to the person. It's not just leaving it out for people to say what's elopement for this person.
Right. And you think about like elopement, if we didn't have this definition, might be counted when elopement didn't occur. And then finally, complete. And I feel like the complete portion is how we have examples and non-examples of this behavior, that it's complete, that we are showing that what is an example of this and what is a non-example. Do you guys have any questions about this elopement behavior definition? So when you're writing your treatment plans and you're writing a target behavior definition, please think about objective, clear, and complete. And you could use this slide, this target behavior, as a reference. And this is a pretty in-depth one. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about target behavior definitions. So we could test target behavior definitions. So after we develop target behaviors, you may think of these 3 questions to ask to determine if your target behavior is a good one. Can you count the number of times a behavior occurs in? Your answer should be yes. Will a stranger know exactly what to look for when you tell them the target behavior you're planning to modify? And guys, you probably heard me say that before. That if I pulled a stranger off the street and gave them my target behavior and definition, that they'd be able to reliably record upon it. And then finally, can you break down, and the answer should be yes to these 2, can you break down the target behavior into smaller behavioral components? Your answer should be no, that you have the most basic behavioral components in your treatment plan that you're recording upon. Any questions? Okay, let's continue, please. So now now that we talked about target behaviors, we're gonna be moving into treatment goals, program goals. And these are the goals or mastery criteria that we're putting in our behavior support plan that we are tracking data upon in our learning trees in Central Reach and sessions. So using treatment goals, we're taking the target behavior and we're kind of putting out a goal that we'd like our VIP to accomplish. Let's talk about this. It specifies a goal for treatment. Okay. It tells us the setting on where the goal will be practiced. It outlines what data collection method to use. It outlines what prompt level is required. It outlines the performance criteria needed for mastery. That was it. I know people are taking notes if you want to go back a moment.
Sorry, guys. We don't practice this clearly.
This is our practice.
I tried to bring up the PowerPoint on my phone, but you need to have the PowerPoint app to look at it.
I think if you open with like a browser, it might work. Check that out. We posted on in the BH chat. Do you guys have Teams?
Yeah. Don't we have a chat with all the DSPs?
I'm not in it, but I'd like to be, if you guys will have me.
This one we have one. We could send it out.
We'll send it out to you guys. We'll make sure you guys have copies of all the things we've reviewed. Okay, using treatment goals. This is what it's going to do. We're going to get into each one of them. So there's 4 categories of goals that we need to consider in our treatment plan. Okay, the first one are maladaptive behavior goals. These are for decrease, and this is pretty obvious. This is what is included in 90% of our behavior support plans. Decreasing or eliminating maladaptive behaviors that interfere with daily life, relationships, or learning. So when I'm thinking about writing my behavior support plan, the first goals I'm thinking about are goals for maladaptive behaviors that we're seeing. And how do I know what behaviors to target? Yes, your FBA, your functional behavior assessment. Your big assessment that you have done identified maladaptive behaviors that we may now work on. And during your FBA, let's not get into all that. Maladaptive behavior goals. Goals that we're going to use to reduce problem behaviors. Let's continue. The second category of goals are communication or language goals that we need to consider when we're developing a behavior support plan for our VIPs. And these can include increasing functional communication skills, including verbal, augmentative, or alternate forms of communication. So these are a very important part of our treatment, communication language goals. What may be a goal we include in this section?
Utilizing a tablet for communication.
Yeah, teaching someone to mand, right, using a communication tablet is absolutely a communication or language goal that we would include in our behavior support plan, a very important one. And that would be like a behavioral cusp we're teaching. So important skill for acquisition that we should include in our treatment plans. What I heard someone else online.
I'm gonna say request a break.
Okay, requesting a break, right? That could be a great communication method that we are putting in our treatment plan to work on with our VIPs.
Using acrylics to teach sentences, words.
Teaching a COEX. And think about all our verbal operants, right? Those are communication goals that we're going to include in our treatment plan. Any questions about this domain or category of goals? All right. Social play goals or leisure goals. Promoting social interactions, reciprocal play, or leisure engagement to support social inclusion and relationship building are an important category of goals that we should put in our behavior support plan. What goals or target behaviors might we see in this section?
Boundaries.
Appropriate socialization interactions.
Yes, appropriate socialization and action. What were you going to say, Nadine?
Inappropriate boundaries, like spatial boundaries.
So teaching someone the correct social boundaries, that would be great to see in there. What else? Think about our social life. What are we doing? What was it? Conversations, reciprocal conversations for a certain amount of time would be a cool goal to put in your behavior support plan.
Outings for someone who chooses not to socialize.
Yeah.
Never leaves their house.
Participate in community activities. Yeah. What else? Appropriate greetings. Appropriate ways to get attention. Participating in program activities. We have that loner at program. Who's not participating in the clubs. I'm going to encourage group participation, maybe once or twice a day at program. Social goals. Social play. What are some leisure goals we might include in the behavior support plan? Exercise would be a great goal to put in there for leisure activities. What else? Attending community outings, of course, definitely.
Going out to eat.
Going out to eat, I love it. Board games, playing board games. Any questions about this domain of behavioral goals? And the final goal is our functional goals. And our functional goals support daily living and adaptive skills to improve independence and quality of life. Functional goals are goals that we are helping our VIPs live a better quality of life. So what might they include? Yes, heating up their own food would be a great functional goal for someone that is struggling with that skill.
Doing chores.
Doing chores, like what?
Vacuuming.
Because I'm breaking this down to the smallest components.
Laundry.
Laundry, great idea. Doing laundry. What else?
Hygiene skills, including bathroom or washing.
Using the toilet, showering, right? What about crossing the road? What about safety skills? Right? Go ahead.
Speaking at like an appropriate volume for the situation.
Okay, that might fall under our social play goals, right? But still a great goal that we might put in our behavior support plan. Budgeting, yeah, budgeting our money, teaching money management, identifying coins, maybe not coins anymore. I don't know if that's socially valid. Good point, Miriam. Yeah, so people still are using coins, so we got to teach those, right? So money management, budgeting, paying bills. We were like opening a bank account, right? joining a gym, right? These are all functional skills that we are help teach our individuals to live a better quality of life, and we are routinely doing them. Washing hands, helping someone teach them to wash their hands, brush their teeth. All of these are functional goals that we could include in our behavior support plan. So when I'm doing my assessment, I am thinking about these 4 domains or categories, and I am considering where my VIP lacks in some of these areas. And I'm considering what else? Is it just my opinion what we should be working on? Yeah, well, I'm considering the opinions of who? Everyone that's on the team. I'm including their input in the decisions for what goals I select in the behavior support plan. That doesn't mean I don't guide them in this practice, but I'm considering what they are telling me is important to them. So I could then think about these 4 categories and think about what goals are very impactful for the VIP to work on. And a lot of times I'm thinking about what goals I prioritize are goals that are going to lead to the most reinforcement for that person, the most enjoyment for that person. Any questions about these 4 categories of behavior, of behavioral goals? Okay. So we're going to talk about each goal one by one. We're going to look at a mastery criteria or program goal as it should be written in your behavior support plan. And then we're going to look at a graph and we're going to see if this person met their mastery criteria. So this first one is about maladaptive behaviors. And so these are the criteria of a proper program goal that we should put in our behavior support plan. So this first one's about maladaptive behaviors. In all situations, Thomas will independently reduce elopement behavior to no more than 5 instances per session across 5 consecutive sessions. So and I color-coded it. Thank you. Where the goal will be worked on is in green. In all situations. Our goal should start out with that tidbit. I don't know what to call it. Thomas, the VIP's name, obviously, will independently, that's our prompt level, reduce elopement behaviors, behavior of interest, or target behavior, to more than 5 instances per session across, and that's the data collection method, 5 instances. What data recording method are we using in this program goal? Frequency. Thank you. So our graph should show what? A frequency, right? And then 5 consecutive sessions is our performance criteria for the goal. So let's go to our graph. Here is our graph for elopement. And there is the mastery criteria at the top. So we are looking for 5 consecutive sessions, 5 or less. Yes. Each dot is a. So do we see a time for this VIP that they met this mastery criteria? Yeah, we have a yes, we have a no.
The last 5 sessions, he's had less than 5.
Oh, it's less, wait.
2, 3, 4, 5.
There's not, there's 5. They have to be like,
Brandon,
I thought that was a robot.
Brandon, we have no idea what you just said.
He said
No,
that
because
was like
there's
slow.
not 5 consecutively in a row.
See, that's what I was
He said yes or no?
He said no.
He said no. So we have no's and yeses. So what?
what the points are.
Fair enough. So let's take a look. So when I'm working with my VIPs, I'm making it a normal occurrence to look at my graphs. And I'm seeing if they met their criteria. Those are 5s over there.
Oh, okay. Then never
So I
mind.
think you're
Yeah, I thought that was
The
a
third
4,
was
the last 2 dots.
and we're saying no more than 5 though. It's kind of, I should have written this a little bit clearer.
You
Yeah.
made this one hard.
I know, sorry.
Well, we all thought you wanted 5 instances.
So the answer is yes.
Yes, 'cause it's
This person met the criteria. So you were right, Nadine.
yeah, maybe.
I thought you meant that you had 5 in a row.
So no more than 5. So anytime there's 5 or fewer,
Yes.
we count that as a successful session. So here we have 0, 1 session. We have 2. We have 1, maybe. And then we have 2 5s. So we can say that this goal, and it's consecutive sessions. So we can say, what about this goal? It's mastered. So now what should we do in our behavior support plan? Mark this goal as mastered and move on to something else. Don't continue to work on this forever. Now you could do a lot of, you could say, okay, I'm going to take it out. I'm not going to actively work on this anymore, but continue to collect data to see if the behavior maintains. I can also update this goal to make it more difficult for this individual. And how might I do that? Yes. I could do what to the number of instances? Reduce it. Exactly correct. So now I'm like, okay, this person met this goal. I'm going to try to make the goal a little bit more difficult for them to achieve because I still feel like we need to work on this a bit more. Do you guys see how I do this? So make it a normal part of your session that you are looking at your program goal and you are looking at your graph and determining if this person met the goal outlined in your behavior support plan. And if they did, it's time to move on to something else or to update the goal. Okay, that's the first one. Let's continue. Communication language goal. Here we go. While at the day program, Sandy, with 1 verbal prompt, will ask for help or break in 80% of percentage opportunities across 5 consecutive sessions. So again, where the goal will be working on? At the day program. Sandy, the VIP's name, with 1 verbal prompt level. Ask for a help or break, behavior of interest, in 80% of percentage opportunities across 5 consecutive sessions. Data collection method and performance criteria for goal mastery. What data recording method should I expect to see on my graph?
Percentage of opportunity.
Yes, percentage of opportunities, because that is what I included in my performance criteria. So I need to be recording percentage of opportunities. And we say percentage of opportunities, what do we mean by that?
If there's a situation where you set up an opportunity for Sandy to ask for help, did they ask for help when they were able to, or did they not? Like, did you prompt them, and did they, or did they not?
Right, there's an opportunity when I'm working with Sandy to ask for a help or break. And did she, with 1 verbal prompt, ask for a help or break? And if she did, I'm going to put a check mark yes on my data recording sheet that she did. And if she needed 2 or more prompts, I'm going to put a no, that she did not. There was an opportunity to ask for a help or break. She didn't follow the criteria with 1 verbal prompt. She needed 2. Well, I'm going to put no, that she didn't meet my criteria for mastery. So there's a percentage of opportunity that didn't follow through. Now, what if she did it independently? She was in a tough situation. She asked for a break on her own. Then I'd put a yes, because that's even better than my criteria. So I'm going to certainly give her credit for that and put a yes on the data recording sheet. Or a check mark on Central Reach. And that's exactly what we should be doing on Central Reach. Any questions about percentage of opportunities to clear the air? Does that make sense to you guys? So for skill acquisition goals, many times we use percentage of opportunities because we want to show there was an opportunity to practice a new behavior. And we hope they were successful with it. Let's look at the graph. So here we go, and we're wondering, did Sandy meet this criteria for mastery? We have a no. We have a no. No. You guys are right. She did not meet the criteria for mastery. So I'm going to continue to work on this behavior, and I'm going to continue to record. Now, what if this goes on for several months, and I'm still not meeting my criteria?
So you can make the goal a little bit more achievable.
I could consider a few things. The one thing I can consider is making this goal easier for Sandy to accomplish. What might be another thing I could consider? That's exactly what I was thinking too, Mark. Changing the interventions, revisiting the interventions, because maybe something isn't working right here. And what'd you say, Nadine?
Increasing the verbal prompting.
Increasing the prompt level. You guys are on the ball. Yes, exactly right. Yeah, you guys know about this. Checking out your interventions. Checking, and not just your interventions. If it was a maladaptive behavior, perhaps looking back at the function. And maybe you were wrong about the function of the behavior. But regardless, you should talk to who? You could talk to Sandy. Yeah, talk to Sandy for sure. Who else should you talk to about treatment advice? BCBA consultants or me, because we can help you with these ideas as well. So no, Sandy did not meet the criteria. What dimension of ABA were we just referencing? If we're not seeing kind of gains on our sheet. Effective. Good job, Nadine. Yeah, absolutely correct. Effective. That we are not being effective in our work. Time to revisit all of these things. Time to go back to our assessment, really, and start over again and figure out what's going on. Effective is the dimension I was thinking about too here. All right, let's continue. Good job there, guys. Social play goal. Freddie, our boy Freddie. While at the day program, Freddie will sit in a group setting using model prompts for at least 5 minutes in 90% of presented opportunities across 5 consecutive sessions. So you see in this one, I do include a duration, but I'm still using a percentage of opportunities. I want him to remain in this group setting for 5 minutes, but that's my criteria to mark a yes or a no. If he sits 459, I'm putting a no. If he sits 5 or more, I'm going to put a yes. And there was an opportunity for a group session because what's going on at program? Yeah, they're doing a craft. They're playing bingo. They have a dance club. These are all opportunities to practice this behavior. We talked about this, where the behavior will work on, the prompt level, model prompts, behavior of interest, sit in a group setting, data collection method, and performance criteria for goal mastery. Let's look at the graph. Did Freddie meet the criteria for mastery for this goal? We have a no. We have a 1 no. We have 2 no's. I want everyone to say what they think. I am not tricking you guys. That's not my teaching style, to trick people. What was that?
Get my eyes checked.
I try to make it as big as possible.
It's at 80, right?
Yes, this is 80. This is 80.
The other one. The
All
middle
the
one.
way, yeah, in the middle.
That's 80. I don't think they ever reach 90.
I was gonna say, I don't think so. No. So no.
No, haha. That's mean to laugh at Freddie. I'm just, yeah, if he would join some more group settings, we wouldn't be laughing. Poor Freddie.
I mean,
So-
he does participate, it's just not what we would like it to be.
Yeah, so what might we do to help Freddie out here?
Drop it down.
Drop it down.
I feel like 3 minutes.
3 minutes, good idea. Freddie, and we could kind of note it, and to me it's like what I'm doing is I'm seeing how long Freddie sits in a group now. And I'm making just a little bit better than what he's doing right now. And that's part of my assessment, that I'm figuring out how long he is engaged in a group setting now. So I could see where to take things in the future.
Yeah, you could still use the data you could collect because you could figure out an average. What's an average percentage he's doing currently, and then just maybe add a little bit to make it a goal.
And that's exactly what we should be doing with all of these goals. So totally correct. Go ahead.
So would the goal still work if he sat in it but didn't participate in it? So like we have a new guy who just came in and he just doesn't want to do anything with anyone. But he'll do crafts or he'll talk to you if you sit one-on-one with him. Like doing anything he won't. But he'll sit, like if you're taking a club and you're going to a different part of the room, he'll come with you and sit, but he won't participate at all.
So according to our criteria here, that would be good enough. But for this individual, he would have his own program goal that's individualized to his treatment. Please refer him for behavior supports. Sounds like. Okay. Any questions? We, of course, have one more goal to look at before we conclude today, and it's going to be in our functional domain, I hope. Yes, functional behavior. While it,
What is that?
What a name.
what's wrong with Samsonite?
Have you ever met a Samsonite?
I'm naming my new son Samsonite. Can't even say it. Samsonite. I'm just kidding. I have not. Nadine's like, oh. That is luggage. And it's from the hit classic movie. Can someone name the movie? No.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber, baby. Dumb and Dumber. You remember that scene? They're like, check the luggage. I have a Samsonite too, just because of Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. It's like, look at, maybe it's on the luggage. It's like Samsonite. I was way off. Yeah, that's where I got this from. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. Pop culture reference there. While at home, Samsonite will dress himself after toileting with only verbal prompts in 80% of presented opportunities across 5 consecutive sessions. Again, we have where the goal will be worked on. We have the VIP's name. Will dress himself after toileting is what? What is it? What part of the goal is that? The behavior. In 80% of opportunities, or with only verbal prompts is what? The prompt level. In 80% of presented opportunities across 5 consecutive sessions is the data collection method and performance criteria. So what can I expect to see? What numbers can I expect to see on my graph? A percentage. Miriam, you're killing it. You're killing it. Come and join us. Come and join us. You have a mind for this. You have a mind for this. Good answer. Good, good. You'll be well prepared attending our trainings. Okay, let's look at the graph. Samsonite, you've been crushing it. So Samsonite, did he meet his mastery criteria?
Yes.
He clearly did, right? He's been really crushing this goal. He did it 5 times, 100% with only 1 verbal prompt. Great work, Samsonite. Great work. Is that the last slide? I don't think so.
Viewing goal status.
Okay, let's go to the last slide. Good job there, guys. I think you guys pick up what I'm putting down here and how we use our graphs and the performance criteria together. Reviewing goal status, and we talked a little bit about this already. Use the graph to help determine if mastery criteria is being met. Well, you guys know that now. If goal is met, mark the goal as mastered or make the goal more difficult. And we talked about that, right? We talked about ways to make the goal more difficult or to mark it mastered. If goal is not making progress after a set period of time, look at the interventions and review with the BCBA. So again, there could be issues with the function. There could be issues with the interventions. We need to try something different. We don't just continue to try something that is not being effective. We change things up until we are effective. Any questions? You guys know this one? David Pumpkins? Yeah. I wish more people did. It would have been more funny, I think. This is Tom Hanks from the hit movies Castaway and Big and Tom.
Looked like Tom Hanks, but now it does.
Yeah.
You just take off the hair.
Yeah.
And this is a skit he did for Halloween on his SNL, and it's hysterical. So please watch this skit. It's so funny.
Is it called Any Questions?
No, it's called David Pumpkins. That's his name, sorry. David S. Pumpkins. And it's hysterical. And it came out probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And a lot of people wear this outfit for Halloween costumes.
That's where they saw Winkle. There you go.
Yes!
Do it.
So do you, honestly, go, guys, does anyone have any questions about program books or any comments? Does this clear the air for some of you? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for coming to our training. See you next Wednesday.